Question number 11, Stuart Nash.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Police, why did the number of burglaries that were resolved fall from 9,770 in 2008 to 6,136 in 2015, with the proportion of burglaries that went unsolved rising from 84% to over 94%?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
On behalf of the Minister, in response to the first part of the question, I'm advised the figures the member quotes are not directly comparable. The first figure refers to the number of burglaries resolved in 2008, while the second figure refers to victimisation, something the police started counting in 2015. In response to the second part of the question, I can advise the member that police are actively working to get those resolution rates up.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Stuart Nash.
Does she think that it's acceptable for police to tell burgled South Auckland dairy owners that they are too busy to investigate?
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
On behalf of the Minister, I can't confirm that that statement was made. The police are very concerned to deal with resolution rates for burglaries, and in particular in South Auckland.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Stuart Nash.
Will she admit that cutting general duties constables by almost 18% since 2009 has contributed to the Police Association's inability to respond to burglaries?
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
On behalf of the Minister, I do not accept the underlying basis of that question.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Stuart Nash.
Table an answer to an OIA to the Minister of Police.
On the basis that it could inform members of the House, I'll put the leave is sought to table a particular response to an OIA. Is there any, they're not all published, is there any objection? There is no objection.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Stuart Nash.
Does she believe there is an issue when 86% of Police Association members believe frontline general duties branch police are under-resourced?
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, I actually haven't seen that survey, but if people are asked whether they'd like more resources, the answer on most occasions would be likely to be yes.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Stuart Nash.
It wasn't whether they required more resource, but the fact that they were under-resourced.
The question's been addressed.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Stuart Nash.
Why has she allowed 3 Auckland districts to underspend their budgets by almost $14 million, while unresolved burglaries are now at over 90%?
On behalf
the Honourable Chris Finlayson.
On behalf of the Minister, I would have thought that they were operational matters, but let me make it clear to the member that the question of burglary is not taken lightly by the police or this Minister. This is a very difficult crime to resolve in many circumstances, often because it's reported long after the actual event. The key thing is the police are focused on this issue and the Minister is supporting them.
Question number